Okay guys, what's popping back like we never left? It's Brago here. So we're here to talk about the Vivre Cards, right? So the Vivre Card information is a bit all over the place. Typically we look at the translations from the Library of O'Hara, but I think he's a bit under the weather, so they're going to come out later in the month. But we're going to cover the pertinent information from the Vivre Cards. I think we're going to look at Soulstorm OP, we're going to look at Scotch Informer, we're going to look at Brand New, all these people from Twitter who compiled and translated this information. All their links will be in the description box down below. Also down below is a subscribe button, so click that as well so that you can keep up to date for One Piece with One Piece content, I should say. Drop a like as well, I would certainly appreciate that. And without further ado, let's talk about the bounties and stuff first, because I made a video about Marco's bounty being confirmed before, and I think I wasn't really clear in that video, so I apologize, because the video was made somewhat in limbo where it wasn't confirmed, then it was confirmed, so I inserted some information where it's like, okay, so this is confirmed, but then how I talked about it, it seemed like it wasn't confirmed, so I apologize for the confusion. However, everything I mentioned in this video has been confirmed, and we have very credible sources that have talked about these things. So guys, no need to worry. Everything I mentioned here has been confirmed. The first thing we're going to start with are the bounties. So bounties got released for the Revolutionary Army and for pirates. The two pirates are Marco and Izo, and the Revolutionary Army bounties are for Morley, Belobedi, Lindbergh, and Karasu. So for Marco, like I said in the video, the bounty is confirmed at 1.374 billion buried. Izo, 510 million. For the Revolutionary Army, you have Morley, 293 million. For Belobedi, 457 million. For Lindbergh, 316 million. For Karasu, 400 million. So my thoughts. Well, Marco being at 1.374 billion is not terrible. I think initially, right, when I first started covering One Piece, just talking about One Piece in general, my view of bounties was a bit jaded. And I think more recently, I've come to understand just how the world government, or for instance, the Marines, how they judge some of these pirates, right? A lot of times I would look at characters and I'm like, okay, well, they didn't necessarily accomplish their goal, but they came so close and they accomplished so much. So they should get a bump for, at least trying, right? But that's not necessarily how the world government operates. I think they look at character, they look at attitude, they look at moves you've made, they look at accomplishments, right? So you have to actually accomplish something first before they jump in there and give you that bump. And I think characters that are a bit more passive, they look at that as well and say, well, I don't know if we should raise his bounty. He's not going around killing people and doing all these different things. He's fine where he is. So for Marco at 1.374, I think it would have been elevated to 2.2, 2.5 if he had beaten Blackbeard, but because he didn't, they left him where he was, and he's been a Yonko commander for a long time, but he was serving Whitebeard, who actively avoided confrontation with the world government. So Marco being his right hand, how many situations has Marco been in to the point that the world government is saying, hey, his threat level is beyond 2 bill or close to other Yonko? Think about everything Luffy has accomplished up to this point at 1.5. Marco is at 1.3 as a right hand and a temporary captain that didn't accomplish much or anything as a captain. So I think that's fitting. That's great. I think Kings would be a bit higher, but that goes back to the Beast Pirates and them being a bit more aggressive, or a lot more aggressive, looking at Jack as the barometer. So people have mentioned Whitebeard when I talk about character and character actions in regards to the world government having Whitebeard as the second highest bounty ever in regards to pirates. Well, Brago, you said that Whitebeard actively avoided marine confrontation. Why would they have his bounty so high then? Well, Whitebeard did do that, but also for Whitebeard, he had the power to destroy the world, or that's how the Marines perceived it. So from that perspective, they had to have a crazy bounty for him, especially for the longevity and also his history, right? Of course, the Rock's crew and everything they represented got erased from history, but Whitebeard still lingers, and he had a long, extensive history, and again, the power to destroy the world. I think going forward, to look at Luffy, who is somewhat regarded as a Yonko right now, he's at 1.5, right? That's his threat level. And look at Luffy and everything he's accomplished and how connected he is at 1.5. So using that as the barometer, does Rayleigh deserve more than Luffy? I guess you can say maybe because he was the right hand of Roger. Rayleigh himself might not be at 2 bill. Yes, they accomplished a lot and he's an accomplished pirate, but he might be around 1.8, 1.9. We gotta see. I think King is going to be slightly higher. I don't even think Shiryu gets to 1.3. I think Shiryu might not even get to 1 bill. It's crazy. So I'm fine with the bounty. Again, previously, I thought that Marco could be around 2 bill. I was tripping. No way. It's crazy. But I was accounting for things he hadn't accomplished. Yes, he was a Yonko candidate, but he didn't do the necessary things or overcome the challenge in front of him to step into that realm of being a Yonko. The other really important thing, or things people would care about, I mean, there are other things in the Vivre Cards that people care about, but I think these two things, the bounties and the name of Roger's swords, those are things people would hone in on. So I want to focus on those. Wait, I guess I didn't finish the bounty talk because I didn't talk about the Revolutionary Army bounties or Izo. Okay, so for Izo, people were shocked that Izo was at 510 mil, and I get it because for Ace he died at what, 550? bounty. Sabo is slightly over 600. So for Izo, people are saying, what has Izo done to be on this level? He was like, a 13th, 14th commander or something like that. I've said for Izo, he was probably the most prominent commander other than Jozu, Marco, Ace, Vista, and maybe Thatch. Because for Whitebeard's commanders, we know they weren't separated by strength. So I think the name value of Izo gets him to 510 and how long he had been a pirate. Again, we have no idea of the things Izo has accomplished. So 510 when you think about it, because Luffy has accomplished so much, right? After 300 is stated by Jinbei, it's difficult for your bounty to rise. However, we need more context in regards to what Izo had accomplished. But 510, not too crazy for me because he is one of Whitebeard's commanders, right? Revolutionary Army, Morley, Belobetti, Lindbergh, and Karasu. It's only disappointing if you look at it in a vacuum. When you bring context into the situation, it's fine and it makes sense. So for instance, right, Dragon, the Revolutionary Army leader, probably has the highest bounty ever. Then you have Sabo. There could be a secret second commander that we don't know about, but I think the former right hand was Kuma, who I think would easily be over 1 billion if he was a member of the Revolutionary Army or still a member. Then we have Ivankov, right? Ivankov should be close to 1 billion, probably around 700 mil, 800, something like that. So when you look at this structure where it goes from Dragon, Kuma, Ivankov, Sabo, then you fall down the line to Belobetti, Karasu, Lindbergh, and Morley, it makes sense that they're around that because they are not the top of the top when it comes to commanders for the Revolutionaries, right? They are members, probably higher than Hack and Koala and those guys, but they are key members, just not Kuma, Ivankov, Sabo, but they are important. And when you look at it from that structure, I think the bounties are fine. Okay, to Roger's sword. Roger's sword is, as expected, one of the 12 supreme grade swords, right? So as far as we know, there are 12 supreme grade swords, right? But we only know of 4 so far. Mihawk's Yoru, Whitebeard's Naginata, or I guess a Murakuma Gori, Roger's Ace, and then Shodai Kitetsu, okay? People assume that Griffin should be one, Shanks' sword, and I think Zoro will turn one of his swords into a supreme grade blade, but I think the name of Roger's blade, Ace. This shows how much Roger cared about his son, right? Your weapon is something you grow with, something you travel with throughout your journey. So him naming Ace after his blade, I think it's so beautiful, but so sad at the same time because Ace will never know how much his father truly cared about him. Some may say it's superficial, like why would you name a kid after a weapon? But I think this shows just how much Roger cared about Ace. I mean, the only closest thing is naming Ace after Rayleigh or something, right? Like naming him Ray, something crazy like that, or even Garp, I guess. But yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's beautiful. I can just imagine the conversations they're having together in One Piece heaven. He's like, Ace, he's like, I named you after my sword, right? He's like, I don't care. My dad is a Whitebeard, That's a fun visual, but I thought that was really cool. Other things like from Kiku, it says, in order for her to restrain or conceal the kindness of her heart, it was Kiku's custom to wear a mask when fighting. So Kiku crying all over the battlefield with stabbing Kanjuro, etc. It seems like she has a very soft heart, right? So she wore a mask to conceal that. And there's some people in the world that they just are really kind, but sometimes you have to do things like in war. So for her to conceal her eyes so it doesn't seem like she's soft-hearted or soft-willed or weak-willed, she wore that mask. Kinemon has 2 swords named Kaku and Suki-san. There was no classification given for these swords. He does differentiate between the use of 2-sword style and 1-sword style depending on the situation. So Kinemon, I mean, that's not something that I ever thought of. And then the situation depends on the use of the 2-sword style, similar to what Zoro does, I guess. But of course, he has 3 swords. Santoryu. So it's a quick breakdown for Roger's history. So it says 77 years ago, he's born in Logtown. 52 years ago, he was famous as one of the beginners. So I guess he was a super rookie. 39 years ago, he arrived at Lodestar. It says before 38, with a boat, he destroyed the Rock's crew in God's Valley. 28 years ago, that's when he got afflicted with the disease. 26 years ago was the fight against Whitebeard's crew. So gave a quick breakdown of Roger's history. I'm sure we get something more detailed in the future, but this is cool to kind of look at to see Roger's journey. He arrived at Lodestar 13 years before coming in contact with Whitebeard and then finding Odin. So Roger's journey is substantial. Like he's gone everywhere, front and back. So that man is a true pioneer. So yeah, that's pretty much important stuff. Guys, give me your thoughts. What do you think about all this information? What do you think about the bounties? What do you think about Roger's blade? I think it's all really interesting. Of course, I'd much rather this stuff be revealed in the story, like in the canon story, because I mentioned it in my previous video. Hey, this stuff isn't revealed in the canon story, and people assume that I meant this stuff isn't canon. No, everything that's determined canon outside the story, I view as canon. I even look at the anime in certain instances more often than not as canon. I think there are ways in which information like this could have easily been fit into the story, but we're getting it and I enjoy it. I appreciate it. So give me your thoughts. Make sure to like the video if you did. Subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter at BragoDAce. Follow me on Instagram at BragoD.Ace. Thank you to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Guys, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
I start doubting me, I felt lost. I rewrite it.